We're live. Hello, Buffy.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Right,
NosillaCast.
I just posted a link to the tea lights that we were trying to read by. The bourbon had nothing to do with our inability to read the book properly.
Not a bit.
Well, how is everybody tonight? We're doing pretty good.
Yeah. You're going to tell them right away that we won't be here next week? Well, actually, we will.
Here? Yeah, we will. We'll have a live
I guess
show.
we will
San Diego.
from Poway, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to San Diego, so you might get to see the kiddos again. I know how you love to see a show run by a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Careful, you're going to let them do it.
Oh, yeah. Sienna's totally going to be on the show eventually. Forbes, I don't know. He's too shy. But, man, Sienna's my girl. She's going to be all over it.
Yep.
I think she's going to be fun with it. All right. You want to hear playback? Just make sure you can hear
let's hear playback.
I'll just hit the music.
You don't want to test
the music. Well, I can't.
You don't want to test your mic
did. Fine. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias.
So much enthusiasm. I can't stand it.
Okay, here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast. I sound like the AI that I had do the show last time I lost my voice.
A little bit.
Super deadpan. Yeah, Ed says the same thing. Yeah, hi. There was a timbre to it that wasn't quite right.
Yeah,
that's funny. All right, we do not have a lot of recording. It's going to be. We only have 2 topics. One long topic by me, and then security bits. So, hey, everybody, get it marked on the calendar to join us in this chat room on September 9th for the iPhone event.
Hope I'll be there.
Will you? Good.
So remind people it's no video and no audio from us, just chatting in the chat room.
Right.
Text
Lynn,
chatting.
I like that. An AI versus an Al. It's really hard to tell which one is which. I think the second one says Al. That's pretty good. Oh, roll call. Kevin and Frank and Jill and Lynn and Ed and John and Sutter and Sandy and Steve and Zoe.
Hello, and I think Michael King is in here on the sidebar.
Oh, he must be. Yeah, he's chatting, but I don't see. He's not in live show listen.
Right. Anyone else in the sidebar we might have missed?
Yeah, what time will it be for you, Frank? You could put a big Post-it note on your TV there to cover me up if you want, Kevin. Tape a piece of paper to your TV. Oh, 2 or 4 a.m.? Oof. Well, hey, it's, let's see, it's 1 a.m. for Zoe right now. If you were dedicated. I'm kidding. All right, I think it's time to start. Ready? I'll take some breaks because this is going to be long. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, August 31st, 2025, and this is show number 1060.
No.
Well, we now know...
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry. It is. Why don't you just redo that? It's going to be one of those shows.
Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, August 31st, 2025, and this is show number 1060. We now know that the Apple Fall event is going to be on September 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. As usual, Steve and I will be hanging out with the NosillaCastaways in the live chat room at podfeet.com/live. It's hosted on Discord. It's free to get in. It's not any problem unless Discord decides to make you change your name 18 times like it did to Lynn. But anyway, go to podfeet.com/live on September 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific time if you want to join us. Now, Steve and I won't be yapping like we are right now to the live audience. We'll only be texting, so you'll be able to listen to what Apple has to say. I hope you'll join us to complain when the games part comes on and then discuss whether we're buying the newly announced doodads. All right, let's get started with the show. We've only got 2 topics this week, but it's definitely not going to be a short episode.
There, you got through it this time.
Oh, I'm glad with your help. Thank you, Kevin. Save. Ooh, I get to do I'm going to do my jingle for the first thing because I talked long enough that the other music isn't still playing.
Ah, good point. It's jingle time.
Jingle, 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 happy, upbeat kids. You know, I think there's an advantage of the curved displays. I think I've mentioned that before, is that I'm trying to line up the jingle with where my cursor is. So in order to see it, my monitor's so wide, I have to go like this to slide over to it. But if it was curved, it would be the right distance for my glasses.
Is that a hint?
No, I don't think they sell a 6K 32-inch curved display, Steve.
Well,
there's
you never know
aberrations on
what
those?
might come out on the 9th.
That's true. That's true. New Apple TV. Oh, you poor you with a very wide monitor. Oh, well. Terrible for Excel and photo editing. Great for games. Oh, well, never mind. Short episode. Okay, good. That's perfect. All right. Drinky poo. Over the decades that I've been writing and talking about the Mac, I've covered multiple applications that are designed to help you recoup disk space. It's so easy to accumulate files that you really don't need to keep, and many apps these days create large files in hidden directories that you might not even know about. If you have limited storage, perhaps on a laptop, maybe you need help finding big files you don't need to sync locally from your cloud storage provider. In the past, I've done reviews of these specific apps to help you gain back disk space. But today I'd like to talk about why you might want to run several of them one after another. I recently installed 4 of these disk scanning apps, and I ran them all on my 13-inch MacBook Air. Running these 4 apps sequentially helped me find a lot of space that I could recover with no adverse impact. Because their interfaces are so very different, each app found different things that I could eliminate. I'm going to walk through the apps and give you kind of an overview of how they represent your data and describe why I found each app useful in its own way. They aren't complete reviews of each app, but I get into some of the depth. I truly believe that if I only used one of these apps to scan for unnecessary files, I wouldn't regain nearly as much space. The 4 apps I ran were a relatively new entrant into this space, DiskGraph from Desirem.com. It's DESAIREM. So I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right. Anyway, it's called DiskGraph. Anyway. Anyway, it's called DiskGraph, and it only costs $5.74 if you buy it direct from the developer, or $5 even in the Mac App Store. The second one is SpaceLens, and it's from MacPaw as part of the Clean My Mac Plus application at macpaw.com. Now, Clean My Mac Plus is a subscription service for $65. That's not right. It's not $65 per month. That can't be right. Hang on. Can't possibly be. Right? I said $65 per month. It's $3. No, hang on. Not basic. It needs to be the plus version. What's wrong? This is the plus. $65 per year. Boy, I'm glad I caught that. Man, that's expensive stuff. Per year. There we go. All right. Now clean my... Oh, and that's published. Yikes. I'm going to send that to blog really quick. going to publish that and get back to it because it's not $65 per month. All right. That's better. The next one is Space Lens from MacPaw as part of Clean My Mac Plus at macpaw.com. Clean My Mac Plus is a subscription service for $65 per year if you pay annually, but it's also available inside SetApp, which is also from MacPaw. Note that Space... It's going to be a long show. Note that Space Lens is not part of Clean My Mac Basic, only part of Clean My Mac Plus. The third one is an oldie but a goodie and recently updated called Grand Perspective, which is free from grandperspective.sourceforge.net. For some reason, it doesn't have an E on the end of Grand Perspective when it's at SourceForge. It's always been that way, and I never understood why. But you can also get Grand Perspective in the Mac App Store for $3 whole. Omni Disk Sweeper is free from the Omni Group at omnigroup.com and is also a longtime favorite. Now, if you're a fan of Daisy Disk, please don't take its omission from this list as any kind of slight on the tool. From what I can see, it looks quite delightful, but I had to draw the line somewhere on how many tools to install to make my point. I'm still kind of tempted to buy it when I'm working on this article, though, because it's only $10 from daisydisk.app. I'm still tempted to buy it, though, and I've been looking at it while I've been working on this article. It's only $10 from daisydiskapp.com, and it looks pretty nifty. Now, one word on accessibility before we start. None of the graphical apps appear to be accessible, but the final app I'll be talking about will be able to meet the needs of our VoiceOver user friends. Eventually. I'll explain more when we get to it. I started my disk scanning adventure with Diskgraph, mostly because it was the new shiny app I just purchased. When you first launch Diskgraph, it invites you to select a folder level of your disk to scan. I decided to have it scan just my user directory. At first, the interface seems overly simplistic, showing a simple blue circle on a white background, or kind of a grayish-white background, with a counter showing how many files have been scanned so far. In a minute or two, it had scanned well over 1 million files, and then produced a very interesting-looking circular pie chart representing all of my data. In the center, it said the total amount of data in my home directory was 690 gigabytes. Moving out from the center are concentric arcs representing types and locations of data. More than half of the first interior circle for me is a red arc, and if I hover over that segment, it tells me it's my pictures directory, which is 390 gigabytes. This is only my optimized photos, by the way. When you go from the first level to the next concentric arcs, you're drilling down into that directory. So my second arc going out is nearly all red still, and that's my photos library, but part of the arc is a series of small teal-colored arcs that don't take up nearly as much of that one big arc. Hovering over each one showed them to be folders of pictures from my 2 kids' weddings. These are huge directories, and I know I should go through and just pull out the images I want, but I've kind of never gotten around to doing that, so it's every single photograph that the photographer ever took of that wedding. Using Diskgraph, I discovered that not only do I have a 3.5 gigabyte folder from Lindsay's wedding, I also have a 3.5 gigabyte zip file of the same folder. In the first few minutes, Grammarly Desktop just popped up in front of me and asked me whether I wanted to update it right now. No thanks. Same folder. In the first few minutes, looking at the data in this crazy circular view, I found 3.5 gigabytes I could recover. But that's not all. Steve has been working on scanning in all of the photos from our physical photo albums, and they're in a folder called Photo Album Scanned. This folder is inside Dropbox. My task in the scanning project is to put them into Photos while retaining this Dropbox folder. With Diskgraph, I clicked on the concentric arcs for the scanned photos library, and it opened that folder up into a new view, allowing me to see more granularity. As I poked at this folder inside Dropbox, guess what I found? Another copy of both of my kids' wedding albums. And yep, a second copy of the zip file of Lindsay's wedding album, too. Grand total of unnecessary files in Dropbox and synced to this Mac is another 13.4 gigabytes. Add that to the 3.4 gigabytes in the first pictures folder, and the total savings by Diskgraph in just 10 minutes of looking at it was 16.8 gigabytes. Now, not all discoveries help you regain disk space. Using Diskgraph, I found yet another photos library called syndication.photos library, and it was taking up 23 gigabytes of space. The syndication library was buried in my user library, Photos Libraries, which isn't normally visible in Finder, and I had no clue what that was. I decided to ask Perplexity AI, and it explained that it's where shared with you images and videos are managed. Any photos or videos you've ever been texted via messages will still be in here. I backed away very slowly to make sure I didn't break anything, because clearly I'm not supposed to be messing around in that directory. Now, I've been describing Diskgraph's pie chart view, but you can also switch it to tree map view. This view shows your files as differently sized boxes depending on disk space used, and they look kind of like a printed circuit board with some gray squares surrounded in some cases by wee tiny little boxes around them. To be honest, this view of Diskgraph sort of breaks my brain a little bit, and it didn't help me to be able to see where I may have wasted space, but it might mean a lot to you. Whether you favor the pie chart or tree view, you can change the color coding to mean different things. One bit of information that could be useful when deleting items is whether you've accessed them recently. With view by date modified or date created, you get a heat map where red is the most recently modified, then yellow, green, and finally blue, which identifies your oldest stuff. That nearly 4 gigabyte zip file of Lindsay's wedding is the only blue item I have, showing it hasn't been modified since 2015. Pretty sure I don't need 2 copies, or actually, well, there's 4 total, but 2 copies of that zip file from 2015. When you do a zip. When you do find a file you're sure you don't need, if you right-click on the segment representing it, one of the options is Move to Bin, also known as the trash or deleted items. When you execute a move to bin, the concentric arcs do this cool animation to move the segment to the trash. I found a 400 megabyte recording from the Mac Mommy, also known as Melissa Davis. It was from 4 years ago and it was buried in Dropbox, and I definitely didn't need this any longer. I put the animation of removing it into the show notes for your entertainment, so you can go watch that short little video. Now, I stopped hunting for disk space using Diskgraph because I wanted to give the other applications a chance to shine. Total disk space gained by Diskgraph was 17 gigabytes. Next up is Clean My Mac. I definitely wouldn't get a Clean My Mac subscription just for SpaceLens, but since I have a setup subscription already, it makes sense to see if, what it would find if I put it through its paces. SpaceLens is accessed from within the Clean My Mac interface with all of the fancy undulating animations they favor over at MacPaw. It's really very pretty. Like Diskgraph, you get to choose the folder level to start with. SpaceLens completed the scan on my home directory much more quickly than Diskgraph. I didn't time it, but I'd say probably around twice as fast. Upon completion, SpaceLens shows a list view on the left of the top 8 directories sorted by size, with a chevron to show other items below that. It's of note that among my top 8 directories were several hidden directories, those starting with a dot. It could see .trash, which was kind of obvious, but it could also see .olama, weighing in at 2 gigabytes. Well, Olama is a large language model I downloaded 8 months ago to test running AI locally on the Mac. You may remember NosillaCast Steve Matten joining me on a special tidbit episode of Programming by Stealth, where he taught us how to run these LLMs locally. In any case, I quickly learned in these experiments that 16 gigabytes of RAM on this MacBook Air did not give a good experience, so I definitely don't need to keep the LLM Olama on disk. Now, the strength of SpaceLens is that it revealed this 2 gigabyte model in a hidden directory, so it's very unlikely that I would have discovered that on my own. To the right of the list view are the same 8 folders, but now they're in bubbles by size. The view is very pretty with a gradient purple for each bubble. We already know my pictures directory, even with optimized images, is quite large, but my user level library is close behind it at 335 gigabytes. A single tap on any of the bubbles opens the selected folder and shows a new set of bubbles by size. Most of the bubbles show their size under the title of the folder, but oddly, sometimes they just don't, and I don't know why that is. My biggest bloat contribution in my library is messages. Remember that syndication photos library I found out with Diskgraph? Well, here it is again. Now remember that if you sync your messages via iCloud, that ever-growing directory is getting synced to all of your devices. I need to put a period at the end of that sentence. All right. I drilled down into messages a few levels in Clean My Mac, and once you get to attachments, you can't drill down any farther. The items in here are pretty obfuscated, so you really wouldn't want to clean things up this way anyway. A better way is to open Settings on your phone, then go to General, iPhone Storage, wait for it to draw the graphs, and you'll likely see under Recommendations to Review, Large Attachments. No, accent on the wrong syllable. A better way is to open Settings on your phone, then go into General, iPhone Storage, wait for it to draw the graphs, and you'll likely see under Recommendations to Review, Large Attachments. I just checked, and I've got a 1.21 gigabyte video of Pilot Pete teaching the audience at MacStock how to fold your own toga out of a bed sheet. Now, it's not that this isn't priceless content, but I took the video, so it means it's also in my photos library for posterity, and it's only showing up here because I sent it to Pete and some other friends. This is definitely something I want to delete from that storage. Now, after you've drilled down into the bubbles, Space Lens gives you breadcrumbs at the top of the screen, so you can bounce right back up to the highest level view and start a new drilling exploration. While Space Lens is definitely the prettiest of the apps I tested, I didn't find myself exploring nearly as much as I did with the other applications. However, I do want to give an honorable mention to another tool in Clean My Mac, and it's under the Smart Care button. Among other utilities, it looks for what it considers junk. On my Mac, it identified what it said was 85 gigabytes worth of junk candidates. I was doubtful that I really had that much junk, but it was clearly worth investigating. Drilling into junk takes you to the Cleanup Manager with sections for system junk, mail attachments, and trash bins. I have Xcode installed on my Mac specifically to use the simulators so I can see how my web apps look on different size screens. SmartCare identified that these simulators take up more than 43 gigabytes of space. I only need to run these simulators very occasionally, and I could easily go fetch them again at any time. But a more compelling storage item that SmartCare found, and I didn't see identified with the other disk scanning apps, was an iOS device backup. And it was from when I upgraded my friend Lupe's iPhone 14 to an iPhone 16. So it was a backup of her iPhone 14 from, a year ago. I can, with a click of a button, regain 34 gigabytes of storage simply by deleting that unnecessary backup. Now, the other big contributor to what SmartCare considers junk was cache files. But I find deleting caches to be a fool's errand. Cache files are normally deleted automatically when not needed, and if you delete them yourself, they kind of tend to grow back on their own. I didn't spend much time with mail attachments either, because the problem is similar to cleaning messages from outside the app. Likewise, trash bins didn't seem too interesting because you could just kind of empty them on your own. So our running total is now 17 gigabytes for DiskGraph and 34 gigabytes for Clean My Mac, and we found a total of 51 gigabytes so far. I'm going to stop and chat for a minute. Look at all these pictures. Anything else fun going on? Thank you, Kevin. What have I missed, Steve? Like
we'll talk about Michael launch. Seeing the Starship launch and the booster splashdown in the Gulf.
That must have been fun.
Yeah.
We're all glued to your narrative. I could put in subchapters for the different apps. Since we don't have a lot of chapters.
Yeah. You mean including markers?
Yeah, just put in a little chapter mark for those.
Yeah, it might not hurt if a person wanted to go directly to one of these options.
Yeah, this was Clean My Mac.
Lynn agrees.
I don't know what the URL is, though.
For Clean My Mac?
It's probably cleanmymac.com.
I thought you gave the URLs up front.
I did at the top, yeah. But you know what else I got to do?
Yeah, it's in MacPa. But that's
it's
from
MacPa. I was going to put in...
Oh, but it went right to Clean My Lens. Yeah, you've got
Clean my
your
lens,
link.
Space Lens, or Clean My Mac?
Oh, clean my lens.
Okay, I got to
That's a new
find
one.
disk graph. Hang on. Now, I've been describing disk graph's pie chart. Okay, where was disk graph? In the center, it said the total amount of data in my home directory was 6. Oh, I've been going for a bit, haven't I? The next one is Space Lens. Oh. Oh, this is, sorry. This is going to be, I need to change that. It's going to be, this is going to be grand perspective. Okay, hang on. I got to remember 242. Okay, let's go back to 242. Whee! The next one is Space Lens. Okay. Space Lens. With this space being sold on my Mac, this is available. Oh, good. Yeah, MacPod, thank you. I do have links to all these at the beginning, so I can go ahead and put them. But where's the first one?
Probably soon after your jingle. Yeah.
Yeah, but why? That looks like I only talked about it for like a minute. In the past, I've done reviews of these specific. I recently installed 4 of these disk scanning apps, and I ran them all on my 13-inch Mac. Anyway, it's called Disk Graph. This can't be right. The 4 apps I ran were.
The sentence
Anyway,
starts.
it's called Disk Graph, and it only cost $5.74. Yeah, this is not right. This is not where Space Lens was. That's wrong. Hang on. The next one is Space Lens from MacPod. Oh, yeah, that's wrong. That's me just describing it.
Oh, right up front. The intro.
Yeah, I was going to say that was too short. Note that Space Lens is not part of Clean My, but you can also get grand perspective in the Mac App Store. A lot of noise. I'm still tempted to buy it though. You're making a lot of noise over there, dear. I started my disk scanning. Good. Okay, this is Disk Graph. If you only wanted one of these apps, would it be Grand Perspective?
I think that's the prettiest too, easiest to see.
Yeah, maybe.
That's kind of a subjective thing.
Let's see.
Not really commenting on the features.
You think it's the prettiest?
I do. I'm more of a Cartesian coordinate person as opposed to a radial coordinate person.
Oh, so you liked? Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, Disk Graph has the Cartesian coordinate one, but that weird gray box in the middle, I never did figure out what that was.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
The syndication library was. Okay, syndication library. When you do find a file, you're sure you don't. Upon completion, Space Lens shows a little. Oh, there we go, Space Lens. Next up is, there we go, Space Lens. I know that took a while, but it wouldn't have taken, it's not as bad as if I'd thought of this at the very end. So we're excited about that, right? So that one is there. MacPod.com. There we go. Okay, now we're to Grand Perspective, which is the last one, and that is. Should I do the Mac App Store link or the SourceForge link? What do you think? The free one or the $3 one? I'll put in SourceForge. What do you think?
That's what I'm sure that's what the developer would prefer.
Well, they get no money if you get it from SourceForge.net.
Really? Oh, really?
It's free. Yeah.
And they have to pay through the.
Well, you pay $3 to get it through the Mac App Store.
And a third of that goes to Apple, or.
Yeah, they get $2.
Okay.
Let's do the Mac App Store one.
That's interesting. Why do they do it that way? Because you have to charge through the App Store?
No.
Why are they charging?
I don't know, dear.
Okay.
Don't-
Just
don't-
doesn't make sense.
Your mic is a little hot, by the way.
Is it? I'll push it back.
That's why I'm hearing every grunt over there
How's
when you
that?
don't like my answer. Okay, we're now ready to restart our thing. Hunting for
Well, just-
V'ger, Space Lens.
What are the new chapter marks you put in what order?
In the order they are in the article. Disc graph, space lens, grand perspective.
Okay.
And then the last one will be Omnidus Sweeper. All right, here we go. Let's see, what's the last thing I said? Okay, grand total. Now, I've been writing and talking about our next tool, Grand Perspective, since 2007. I found where I first talked about it in episode number 97 of the NosillaCast. That's 963 episodes ago, nearly 1,000. It's so long ago that in the same episode, I asked the audience whether anyone knew of a cross-platform podcatching app. iTunes had a podcasting by then, but they hadn't yet come out with a Windows client. Now that's way back. Anyway, Grand Perspective displays your files in a grid of boxes. Actually, I want to see something. When I saw that it had a recent update, I had to keep using it. No, that's not the right word. When I saw it had an update after all these years, I was really excited because I've always loved this application. Anyway, Grand Perspective displays your files in a grid of boxes, rather like the tree view in Disk Graph, but it's a much more intuitive interface to me. After telling it to scan my home directory, I was rewarded with a very pretty graphic of gradient-filled boxes representing file size with the sizes of the boxes. Nearly 2/3 of the window is one giant file, which to no one's surprise is the package file for my photos library. Ignoring that behemoth, my eye was drawn to a very large red square. Upon selection, across the bottom, I could see the location in my directory of a file called whisper-best.bin, and it was inside a Rogue Amoeba models directory. On the far right of the bottom, it showed me the file was 2.88 gigabytes. As we discovered using Space Lens, large language models like this take up a lot of space. In the toolbar at the top, one of the icons is Reveal, which will open the enclosing directory of the file in Finder. I'm not sure yet that I'm going to get rid of that model, but it was interesting to see where it was and how big it was, and I definitely wouldn't have found it on my own. With that giant box for photos dominating the screen, it's hard to see the other large files, but Grand Perspective has a tool to fix that problem. With any one of the other files selected, using the zoom button in the menu bar zooms in on that entire section, that directory, so it fills the window and ignores the entire photos directory. Zooming back out brings all of the boxes back. One of the more obvious areas for disk reclamation easy for me to say. One of the more obvious areas for disk reclamation was a region of shiny rust-colored boxes that together take up a trunkload of space. When I selected one of the boxes, I could see it was a ScreenFlow file from my most recent Screencast Online project, and it was taking up around 3 gigabytes of space. If I go to the menu bar and select View, Selection Focus, move selection up, or you can use Command left bracket to do this, then the entire directory in which that file resides becomes selected. That directory of ScreenFlow files takes up 40 gigabytes. Now that's not terribly surprising to me, and I'll explain why. When I'm working in ScreenFlow, you simply cannot have the file contained in any cloud service. As the software isn't the most stable app around, and these videos are so very hard to make, I create a copy of the local file over on Dropbox every time I make a substantial amount of progress. As a result, the Dropbox folder from my latest video has 50 copies of the file, with the smallest starting at 75 megabytes when I first started, and the last copy being over 3 gigabytes. Now the real question is, why on earth is this Dropbox directory for my Screencast Online videos synced to my MacBook Air when I literally never work on ScreenFlow on the Mac? Nope. This Mac. Now the real question is, why on earth is this Dropbox folder for my Screencast Online videos synced to my MacBook Air when I literally never work on ScreenFlow on this Mac? ScreenFlow isn't even licensed for this Mac. I'll be cleaning that folder out as soon as I get the hat tip that everything's dandy with my video since I've published it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to stop syncing that folder to this Mac. It makes no sense. Now, under the Window menu, there's an option to turn on the control panel. I have no idea why they put it under Window, and I have no idea why they call it Control Panel. I would have looked for it. In fact, I did look for it. I knew it existed and I couldn't find it. I would have looked at it maybe under File and called it the Info window. But in any case, go under Window Control Panel. In there, you'll see 3 tabs: Info, Display, and Focus. Info gives you the top level showing your drive size and how much has been scanned. And it should be, okay, Sandy, you're going to be punished. Drive side should be drive size. All right. There she goes. Info gives. Save. 98 messages since 5:03. Good job, guys. Info gives you the top level showing your drive size and how much has been scanned. The Display tab has 3 interesting options. Show lets you choose between the default of packages and files, or you can show just files or packages and folders. By default, you can color the boxes by folder, but you can change it to creation date, file extension or type, and a handful of other methods. Now, Palette lets you change the color palette of the displayed boxes, and you can choose from a good dozen different color sets, so you're sure to find something to delight you. At the bottom of the poorly named control panel, you can mask the results of the scan to eliminate anything in cloud files, any hard links, or those with no version control. Masking changes the display to replace any files or folder that meet that criteria to be replaced with a big black box or maybe a gray box. I masked my scan to show no cloud files, and the resulting graphic was very interesting. Basically, it demonstrated that only a tiny fraction of the files on this Mac are not in a cloud service. All right, I had to quit playing around with this tool because I was having too much fun and see what else I could find. Once I told Control Panel to show me everything again, not masking anything, I found a 2 GB MAMP zip file from 2020. Now, MAMP is an application that lets you build a web server right on your Mac. While this is a very useful tool, I definitely don't need that file around because it's so far out of date. I would build it again from scratch. A Grand Perspective helped me find even more AI models, including several downloaded for Mac Whisper transcription software. I decided to go to manage those in the app, but I ended up downloading even more interesting models, so I didn't actually gain any disk space. I lost some, but I'm not going to count that against Grand Perspective. Now, Grand Perspective was the 3rd app I ran to scan my disk. So while it found some of the same silliness as the other apps, like Lindsay's photo. Now, Grand Perspective was the 3rd app I ran to scan my disk, so while it found some of the same silliness as the other apps, like Lindsay's wedding photo albums being replicated, and I already knew about the Dropbox files for Screencasts Online, Grand Perspective is only going to get credit for that 2 GB MAMP file. Let's see. All right, our running total is now 17 gigabytes for Disk Graph, 34 gigabytes for Clean My Mac, 2 gigabytes for Grand Perspective, for a grand total of 53 gigabytes saved. All right. All right. All right, now Omnidisk Sweeper. Hey, Kevin, be nice. Why are we looking at that again? That joke's never going to get old, is it? All right. Oh, I see what the problem is. I'm sweating here. I couldn't feel my fan. It wasn't pointed at me. Wait, hang on. There. I know it has a button to turn, but it always turns the wrong way. Omni Disk Sweeper. Omni Disk Sweeper is great too. I really like how it works. Now our final contender is Omni Disk Sweeper, and it takes a very different approach from the other tools. It's completely text-based, which has certain advantages. It starts building a column view of your folders almost immediately while sorting the sizes of the contents in those columns as you watch. The non-graphical interface helps me find even more items to clean up that I don't see for some reason when it's graphical. One advantage of a text-based interface is it can be accessible with VoiceOver. Unfortunately, as of the time of this writing, Omni Disk Sweeper is only almost accessible. And unfortunately, the part that's missing is kind of important. While it reads out the directories just fine that it found, it doesn't read out the size of those directories. Now, I had a feeling this wouldn't be all that hard to fix, and I happen to know a guy at Omni Group. I sent him a note about the issue, and he wrote back almost immediately that he was working on an update for Tahoe and that he'd fix this accessibility problem at the same time. How cool is that? I'll definitely be watching for when that comes out. Unlike the other applications I've covered, Omni Disk Sweeper doesn't let you choose which directory to scan. It scans the entire drive, unless I miss something. Anyway, that's what I found. Once it finishes scanning your drive, you can start perusing the column view window for candidates to delete. The first column on the left is the top level of your drive, with the found directories sorted in order of size, with the size showing to the left of that directory name. For example, my top level directory is users, and it told me it was around 200 gigabytes. The first column also includes all hidden directories. If you're a nerd, you'll recognize directories like private, USR, that's user, opt, bin, sbin, and more. Definitely don't go poking around in those directories if you don't know what you're doing. When I drilled down into users and then Allison, unlike the other apps, my pictures folder wasn't the largest directory. It looks like Omni Disk Sweeper in this case wasn't drilling into package files. That's just fine because I would manage those photos in Power Photos or Apple Photos anyway. Since Omni Disk Sweeper isn't swamped by my gigantic photos library, my attention was drawn to my user level library. The biggest directory in there was containers, and in there I found the largest consumer of space was my clipboard manager, CopyM. It was hogging up over 8 gigabytes of space. Now I knew why CopyM was taking up so much storage. It was my fault. In settings for the app, you can choose to have auto deletion of unstarred items, and in there you can define how many recent unstarred items to keep. I had set mine to 1,000. That's definitely overkill for how I use my clipboard manager, and I'm also a big old screenshot taker, so that explains why the app was taking up so much space. I went back and I changed it to 100. Now using Omni Disk Sweeper, I poked around in my documents folder. I have a folder in there where I keep my files related to debugging software and other things. Remember all of the quality time I spent with Apple trying to figure out why my M1 MacBook Air, M1 MacBook Pro? Remember all of, I go up high frequency, don't I? Remember all the high quality time I spent with Apple trying to figure out why my M1 MacBook Pro's battery was draining when it was asleep? Well, in this debugging folder, Omni Disk Sweeper found I had 4 gigabytes of files related to that work. In particular, it revealed a 3 gigabyte sysdiagnose file and another gigabyte of DMG files. They were for CopyM and Backblaze because Apple was convinced those were causing the problem. And so I had identified these DMG files and put them in there. Omni Disk Sweeper also identified 1.3 gigabytes worth of files from when I was fighting a Spotlight indexing problem back in 2022. As much as I love to hold a grudge, even I don't think this 5 gigabytes of files needs to stick around. All right, let's tally up Omni Disk Sweeper's success. It had 5 gigabytes of troubleshooting files with Apple, plus let's say 6 of the 8 gigabytes from CopyM, and we're up to 11 gigabytes of files saved. Remember, Omni Disk Sweeper came in for cleanup duty after 3 other disk scanning apps had already been through them to sweep up. All right, so we're going to do final tally now. There's something I need to look up one thing. Mona, I forgot to do this. Wing it. What was his name? It was Tom Schmidt, I think. There we go. before we get to our final tally, I want to mention that Tom Schmidt pointed out to me on Mastodon something I'd forgotten, which is some of these apps can be run as root user. And if you do it that way, you can get to more of the hidden files. I'm not going to go through the commands, but if you're a nerd and know how to play in the terminal, you'll know how to launch an app as root. There we go. All right. All right, we're coming into the home stretch here. I mentioned my screencast online video files in Dropbox while talking about Grand Perspective, but to be fair, they were pretty visible in most of the apps. It only occurred to me because of this disk sweeping exercise not to sync that folder. So I'm going to add it to our total winnings without giving any particular tool the credit. So our final tally is 17 gigabytes from DiskGraph, 34 gigabytes from Clean My Mac, 2 gigabytes from Grand Perspective, 11 gigabytes from Omni Disk Sweeper, and 46 gigabytes worth of SCO videos in Dropbox. The grand total, 110 gigabytes of disk space saved. So the bottom line of what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that even spending, it was no more than 15 minutes with each tool, I saved a massive amount of disk space on my laptop. The fact that each app presents the information to you in a different way is why I recommend running more than one of these apps to sweep your drives. If I really spent some significant time working with this apps, If I really spent some significant time working with these apps, I'm sure I could find a lot more to clean up. All right. I'm glad you're loving the show, Michael King.
Yeah.
I'm going to push that back.
You should join us more often if you can. Maybe you can't because you're working on your plane on Sundays.
All right. Whip these electronics into submission. Has anybody had the problem recently where they are working out and the workout app says, "Hey, are you done?" And then it goes, "Okay," and stops your workout?
Yeah, before you can say
Steve
dismiss this notification.
Yeah. It happened to Steve one week, and it happened to me too, but it happened to both of us in the exact same place on different weeks. We walk to the beach and back, and we take a 10-minute break sitting there watching people play volleyball when we get down to the beach, and then turn around and head the other 2.5 miles back. But that's where it says, "Are you done?" And normally we just dismiss it or ignore it or whatever. And this time it went, "No, you're done." Okay, so Jill says it asks her, but it doesn't stop it. Yeah. Like, "Hey, lazy, you're not moving." All right, keeping going. Man, this is managing to take a long time, isn't it? It's 5:48. All right. Told you it was going to be a long time. Long show. Saved. Chapter mark. Here we go. Well, everyone has different ways they like to support the show, and one of our longest time supporters through Patreon is Klaus Wolf. He decided this week to switch up how he donates to the show to an annual donation through PayPal, which actually turns out to increase his donation to the Podfeet podcast, so I'm all in favor of this switch. I'm not going to get into why that happened, but I like that he has the flexibility to donate in any way he likes. He said the only hard part is he has to remember a year from now to donate again. I think I'll put a reminder in my calendar to remind him. Anyway, if you'd like to be nifty like Klaus, head on over to podfeet.com/PayPal and make a donation that helps you show the value you get from the work we do here. I want to continue to sing the virtues of those who quietly continue to donate through Patreon with our 9-year donors all the way back since 2016. Ready? Richard, Jonathan, John, Jonathan, Clinton, Darren, James, Tom, Brad, Alex, Robert, Ian, April, Wayne, Cian, and Martin. Thank you all for your continued support. I'm hoping Cian is Cian.
Probably right. It's a good guess.
All right, security bits.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Yeah, did you like that? Jonathan, John, Jonathan? And they were in order of the dates they started, just like that. I didn't put them in a funny order.
Interesting. It's spelled Cian. That's why it's a little bit
Yeah.
confusing.
C-I-A-N.
But it can't be a hard C. It's got to be a soft C.
Cayenne?
Cayenne, like pepper?
That doesn't sound right.
Spelled differently. Sounds the same.
Just not spelt the same?
Right. Coffee. John Coffee.
Yeah. Oh, you should have made him guess the movie.
Yes. Well, I haven't said the movie.
Oh, yeah. What's the movie, guys?
Name that movie.
It's getting sweaty in here. I hear Kepler. I can prove your mic is hot.
Little scratching action back here.
Yeah.
And it's not me.
Okay, get ready for Bart's blink.
Blink.
Oh, wait. I got to see it too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Blink.
Very good, Bart.
It's a cute little one, right? Blink. Poor Kepler. We're going to find him some relief. Let's see. Get rid of that one. And get rid of that one. Are you wrestling?
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear how that lines up. Right there, maybe. Your continued support. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Bouchot's, basically everybody's favorite part of the NosillaCast. Hi, Bart.
Aw. Hello, Alison.
I remember I was afraid to put in chapters because I was afraid they'd skip everything I talk about and only listen to you. And you know what? If that's what they want to listen to, that's fine too.
Well, you're here as well. And
There
you
we
add a
go.
lot of value.
So you say.
Yes.
All right. What kind of catastrophes do we have this week?
It's a mixed but small bag. It is very much August. It feels very Augusty as I looked at my...
All right. I like he left the universe. That's pretty good. Kepler.
He's with us, chewing on his toy.
All right. I need to, let's see. So here's a question. I need to do an addendum to what we just talked about. Do I do his audio icon and then come back?
Addendum to the security
To the
bits
discussion.
episode?
Yeah. It's an add-on. I think I should do it and then do the audio icon.
Agreed.
Okay. Good. All right. When Bart and I stopped recording, I sent a message to Adam Angst about that cool email quiz thing that he'd posted about, and Bart was saying he could get to and I couldn't get to. Well, Adam said he'd heard a few other people saying they couldn't get to it either, but he hadn't been able to find a pattern to it. He suggested I try running a trace route at the terminal to the website. Surprisingly, the trace route went to my router and abruptly returned right back to the system prompt. That meant my router was stopping that website. I poked around a bit in the network settings of my Eero router software, and under network controls, I had advanced security toggled on. That toggle says prevent access to sites that host malicious content or viruses, botnets, phishing sites, and more. Well, I toggled it off, and then I was able to play the email game. I'm glad we got that important problem resolved, and I turned the toggle back on. All right, now we'll do Bart's audio icon. It's going to be a little weird there. Go back on. Okay. Well, now that's going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me at allison@podfeed.com anytime you like? If you have a question or suggestion, just send it on over. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeed.com/Mastodon, like Tom Schmidt, and help me out with the show. If you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube, you can go to podfeed.com/YouTube. If you want to join in the conversation, you can join our Slack community at podfeed.com/Slack. And there you can talk to me and all the other lovely Nosilla castaways. You can support the show at podfeed.com/Patreon or with a one-time donation at podfeed.com/donate with Apple Pay or any credit card. Or you can be like Klaus and switch over to podfeed.com/PayPal and do annual donations. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic Nosilla castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. There we go. Oh yeah, chapter mark. I dare you to know how many chapters, Steve. Good
Well,
luck.
I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to count up your original chapter markers, which would be 1,
And then
2,
add
3,
4.
and then add 4, so 7.
Okay, what is NosillaCast outro? Let me do this first and slide you into place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good.
We have 7.
There are
Boy, you're
7
impatient.
lights. Ding, and stay subscribed. All righty. I think we are ready to let the audience go.
Yes.
What do you think, Steve?
I think
5 minutes early.
I think you did the job. Only 2 articles, one of which was security bits, and you almost filled an hour of live show.
And an hour and 12 minutes and 42 seconds of show.
Ah,
Not that I didn't do the work. All right, everybody. Have a good Labor Day, and we will see you next week with the grandkids. Bye.